The horrendous state of Western gaming journalism has really come to the fore recently, with the reporting over upcoming Korean game Stellar Blade. What was once regarded as a reliable resource for gamers to reference when making informed choices on gaming purchases, guides to get through difficult sections of games, as well as informative news on upcoming releases, has recently devolved into a cesspit of political discourse, where pushing the message has become the primary goal of writers as opposed to delivering informative content on the happenings of the gaming industry and specific releases themselves. IGN for years have been one of the stalwarts for reporting on the gaming industry. Recently, they released a YouTube video stating why Resident Evil 5 cannot be remade. Of course, this was solely due to the fact that it is set in Africa, and the setting depicts a poverty-stricken region overruled by ruthless warlords and pits the protagonists against hordes of native African zombies, which is apparently racist in nature because the protagonist is white and adheres to the white supremacist fantasy. For a little bit of context, Resident Evil is a Capcom product, which is of course a Japanese company, so I don't imagine white supremacy was an important game development pillar they had in mind when working on Resident Evil 5. Most notably, of course, other settings for the Resident Evil games include mowing down hundreds of white zombies, but of course, this obviously is not an issue for IGN. It is entirely laughable to suggest that Resident Evil 5 is racist by nature, especially when they infer the depiction of West Africa being poverty-stricken and ruled by warlords is apparently racist in nature. Doing any modicum of research, like a quick 5-minute Google search, would reveal that of course many African nations and regions all over the continent are indeed poverty-stricken, ruled by warlords, and disease is prevalent. In fact, Resident Evil 5 is arguably a very accurate depiction of the state of many places in Africa today, with of course the most notable fictional element being the Ouroboros virus itself. IGN France then of course scored another own goal with their deplorable article on Shift Up's upcoming release Stellar Blade, where they accused the designer for Eve's character creating a sexualized doll by someone who has clearly never seen a woman. Just for the record, one of the concept artists and designers for Stellar Blade is the CEO's wife, and I'm pretty sure she's looked in a mirror before. IGN France then offered an apology before their editor doubled down a couple of days later by stating that Stellar Blade is literally killing women. What an utterly ridiculous statement said by somebody completely devoid of reality. These people are so far removed from reality that they can't even realise that this message they are pushing itself, where all body types are healthy and acceptable, is responsible for far more deaths from health conditions related to obesity than including a fit and attractive woman in a video game. Then there's the balancing line between realism and escapism in gaming. If Eve from Stellar Blade was a body positive size, she'd be gassed in seconds and wouldn't be able to complete the aerobic feats she performs as part of the core mechanics. I also don't see the same criticism coming around with certain characters like Kratos for God of War, for instance. God amongst men, I think most guys would aspire to go to the gym to have everyone look at him and consider their dad bods might need a bit of a workout. This just goes to show IGN are completely out of touch and are only concerned with forced messaging and narratives in games, as opposed to actually addressing character design in games to determine if they are relevant to the core gameplay, as well as the game itself being fun and enjoyable to begin with. Then of course there's Kotaku, who are another gaming news company that is going through a big change in direction from their parent company. So their editor has stepped down and their writers have been told to stop writing political pieces and focus on producing 50 guides per week. Now personally, I think this amount of guides is untenable long term for the staff. However, their demise has been coming for a long time when the quality of games themselves stopped being the focus of discussion and the perceived lack of representation in games became their focal point. And the numbers don't lie. People who read gaming articles aren't interested in this unadulterated garbage, and Kotaku has been bleeding money due to this. Companies are profit-driven, and we are now finally seeing the focus of these publications move away from mass-producing content that literally nobody asked for. Now, the main issue as I perceive it isn't just the attack on gamers, because annoying and disheartening as it is to see industry leaders blame the consumers for their continuous failures to deliver quality games. Sound familiar, Disney? The reality is that many Western devs are simply being stifled from making good games due to DEI, which is pushed into gaming narratives to improve ESG score to secure easy funding for games that are expensive to develop. Recently, Microsoft put out a directive to their gaming devs that they are not allowed to have curvy women in their games, which is just peak woke garbage and prevents game developers from expressing their creativity around character design and overall thematic theming in games. If you limit what the devs are allowed to create, you simply end up with an utterly boring blend of insipid and repetitive character design, simply to please a small minority of people who probably wouldn't play most of these games to begin with. That's called pandering, And it makes zero sense to do so from the standpoint of wanting to be a successful studio within the gaming industry. We've already seen the negative effects, which has led to the downfall of at least one studio who created Forspoken and were let go by Square Enix. And with the losses piling up to pander to a few people completely out of touch with the wider gaming community, I can't say I'll be unhappy to see more studios bite the dust. I do feel sorry for those developers stuck in a position where they are unable to take a stand against this infectious insanity ruining the current gaming design. But for those campaigning for it, I say good riddance to bad rubbish. If you watched the video today, guys, I'd like to say thank you, and if you enjoyed the kind of content, please leave a like and subscribe. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.